I could give you a pill that will not only lower your blood pressure, your cholesterol, improve your blood sugar, improve your weight, but also improve your sex life, all those at once, I would have everybody on the planet signing up for the pill.
Oh,
The
yeah.
pill exists.
Welcome back to SmarterUmedia, the only place on the interweb that guarantees to make you smarter in 2 minutes. That's going to be easy today. We have a bona fide superstar with us. He's a doctor. He's run university. He's been put on presidential commissions. He's written more than you and I are probably ever going to read. And today he is the chancellor of the entire Texas Tech University system. That's 5 universities in 17 cities across multiple countries. Dr. Ted, well, let's just call him the John Wayne of academia. Ted Mitchell, Dr. Ted Mitchell, welcome to SmarterUmedia.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Well, we're super excited. We take no time dilly-dallying. We're going to get you straight to the chicken timer so you can make us smarter. You know, it's nice that we can do this in such a short amount of time. So I'm going to add a couple of minutes. I'm going to start this guy going, and Dr. Ted Mitchell, make me just a little bit smarter.
Fantastic. One phrase to remember. I'm putting on my doctor hat for this. Exercise is medicine. If I were to tell you, or if I were to ask you, Steve, if I could give you a pill that will not only lower your blood pressure, your cholesterol, improve your blood sugar, improve your weight, but also improve your sleep, improve your concentration, improve your joint aches and pains, improve headaches, improve your sex life, all those at once, I would have everybody on the planet signing up for the pill.
Oh,
the
yeah.
pill exists. It just takes you 30 minutes to take it 5 days a week, and you'll have benefits in all those areas, and it's a guarantee. So everybody, if there's one thing to remember to make you smarter, exercise is medicine. Just like medicine, you have to take it in specific doses. Just like medicine, you can't skip it for weeks at a time and expect to get the effect. And just like medicine, you've got to maintain it in your system in order to get all the benefits. But exercise is medicine. Now, take off my doctor hat.
I love it. Well, you could just keep it on. You know, you still have 44 seconds left, but that's enough for us to get started. So I'm just going to say goodbye to old chicken timer and get straight back into it, because it is one of the things that's been a passion of yours for so long. And as I was trying to figure out how to introduce you, you're one of those people that's hard to introduce because there's just too much stuff. You've already done so many meaningful things, but this is a through line for you, that we don't need to get to the point where we have to start taking all those pills if we just take care of us. That's a passion for you. Give me more, feed me more.
This is really interesting. One of the things that has happened in general in our country, as we've gotten better and better and better at medications and at procedures and other things, we've let a lot of our lifestyle things that our parents and grandparents and even people in medicine generations ago relied upon.
Yeah.
And so it's important for people to remember that it is not your doctor's responsibility to keep you healthy. It's not the government's responsibility to keep you healthy.
Yeah.
It's not your insurance company's responsibility to keep you healthy. It's not your spouse's responsibility to keep you healthy. It's your responsibility to keep yourself healthy. And this is the story that I always tell with that. Everybody remembers the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, yeah.
So Dorothy gets swept up in the twister. She lands in this place she'd never seen before, and all she wants to do is to go home. And so, of course, everybody tells her, if you want to go home, what do? You go see the wizard. Mm-hmm. So she goes along the yellow brick road. She picks up the scarecrow. He needs a brain. Come with me. Let's go see the wizard. They go down, pick up the Tin Man. He needs a heart. Come with me. We're going to go see the wizard. Pick up the lion. He needs courage. Let's go see the wizard. And by the end of the movie, by the end of the book, you've realized two things. Number one, the wizard's not real.
Right.
The wizard can't help with any of those problems.
Yeah.
Number two, the thing that all of them realized is each one of them had it within themselves to take care of the problem they had.
Yeah.
Every one of them. All Dorothy had to do was click her heels together 3 times to get herself home. So by the same token, when it comes to things like your health, each one of us has great capacity with our day-to-day activity, with our day-to-day choices
Yeah.
to either keep ourselves healthy or get on the other path. Now, it doesn't mean that your genetics don't play a role. They absolutely do. It
Right.
doesn't mean that you don't overlay that with good medical diagnosis and good medical therapies. You do. But when
Right.
you combine all of that together, the benefits that you get are tremendous. And my mentor in all of this, the fellow that started the entire fitness movement, Dr. Kenneth Cooper, he always
Mm-hmm.
talked about this for the longest time. And we did tremendous studies there showing very specifically that those people that have certain habits along the way, it does make them live a little bit longer, but that's not the big thing. The big thing is what's called compression of morbidity. Once all of us hit about the age of 50, there's this long, slow curve down where you lose your functional capacity.
Yeah.
And when you ask people who wants to live to 100, everybody raises their hand.
Why
If
not?
you say, well,
Yeah.
who wants to live to 100? If the last 20 years you don't recognize your family and you can't get out of bed, nobody wants that. So
Yeah.
what research has shown is that those people that have these habits, you don't hit that curve the same way.
Right.
You might lose a step or two, but you blow and go and blow and go. When the good Lord calls you home, you step off the proverbial cliff. In medical
Yeah.
terms, that's called compression of morbidity.
Okay.
And people that remain fit, that don't smoke, that keep their weight in a reasonable area, what tends to happen is they compress that morbidity into about the last 12 months of life. So that is what prevention really is about.
You,
And it's one of those things that for 20 years,
yeah.
Jen and I practiced at the Cooper Clinic, which is a phenomenal center for resetting and keeping people focused on that aspect of their health.
And you ran the Cooper Clinic for a long
The
time.
last 6 years that I was there as the CEO.
And that is great. So compression of morbidity is one of those phrases that you would think I would have heard. And I bet you a lot of people have, but I bet a lot of people hadn't, right?
Right,
So
right.
I think that's just a nice way to look at it, because we certainly do not want to be drooling for the last 10 years of our lives. None of us wish that, though we're all headed to the same place.
That's exactly right.
We're all going to die.
That's
So
right.
let's be honest about it and let's deal with it and enjoy the moments that we have. It seems like you are on that path.
Well, I had one of our physicians when we were at the Cooper Clinic. He was one of our newer physicians, and he came in and he was just really beside himself about a diagnosis on a patient that he was seeing. And it was a fatal diagnosis, it was a
Yeah.
terminal diagnosis. And
Yeah.
I said to him, well, I called him by his name, said, listen, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Every one of your patients is going to die. That's not
Shock.
your job. Your
Shock.
job is to make sure that you screen
Yeah.
for those things that are statistically going to be their biggest risk, to really look for those and try to find them early. But beyond that, really educate them on the things they can do to maintain good health. That curve is called the geriatric curve that everybody hits.
Sure.
And you want to take their geriatric curve and compress it to the very end of their life.
Yeah.
And that's our job. Our job's, nobody's coming out of this thing alive. But it's to make sure that while we're here, we are fully engaged and enjoying every day that the good Lord gives you.
Well, it is like so many other things, one of those things that's really easy to say, right? And
It is.
then when the rubber hits the road, it is one of those things we're surrounded by people trying to get us
Quick
to
fix.
enjoy, well, the quick fix, but also the bad stuff, right? I
Sure.
mean, what's the easiest thing to get me to eat? There are 3 of them, right? The 3
That's
food
right.
groups that were the hardest for me to get. If you can get me sugar, if you can
Sure.
get me fat, and you can get me salt, brother, I will want to eat that when I walk into the grocery store.
But Steve, why is that? That's the way we're made genetically.
Yes,
The fact
exactly.
of the matter is, if you look at what our ancestors, they were constantly looking for things in order to put all the carbohydrates in them they could, all the fat in them they could. So they would look for sweet things, fatty things, salty things, and the like.
100%.
These are important things.
Yeah.
The problem, though, is that we've gotten so good in producing food in mass amounts. There's nothing wrong with fast food restaurants. There's nothing wrong. If you could scatter them all over sub-Saharan Africa, they'd be better off for it. The problem is,
Yeah.
I tell everybody, I can make anybody lose weight, anybody, if you'll just do three things: eat a little bit less, exercise a little bit more,
Yeah.
and number three is the hard one: do it forever.
Yeah.
No, nobody can do that. But it's this. Our bodies are made to store energy. Yes. And when you have protracted periods where you can't get to that energy, you have it internally stored. The problem for us today, we never have those extended periods of not being exposed to energy. Think about it like this: our ancestors would leave from the Atlantic coast heading to the west in a covered wagon. They would go for days and days and days, weeks and weeks without large amounts of food.
Yep.
By the time they reached the West Coast, they were lean and ready to find a steakhouse. If you travel from Washington, D.C. to San Francisco today, you won't be in a covered wagon. And
That's
in
right.
fact, just for the several hours while you're flying over, they're going to provide you more food on the plane while you're there.
They're going to fatten you up, right?
They're going to fatten you up for that 4-hour journey.
It's so
It's just
true.
a different world.
It is a different world. And that is exactly right, right? We evolved into needing those things. That's what we crave. Of course, then you want to push the button and get me to buy something and pull it off of the chip rack. That's
Makes it
literally
easy.
those aisles are fascinating to walk down, and seldom do we do it. But don't walk down and look at what's in the aisle. Look at the people looking at the stuff in the chip aisle. I'm going to tell you, it's entertainment.
Hard.
Well, it's entertainment because they're going through the wrestling and they're saying maybe there's something that's a little bit better, but I got it. It is pulling us, right? It's pulling us in.
Right.
Let's get to, you break it down. So the food thing, eat a little bit less, is calorie intake, right? So we talk about that, and people look about the not counting calories, but just sort of eating less. What does that mean? Like, really give me a little more of a diagram that can help me find how to do that better.
A great visual, when you're preparing plates and things like that, is having 3/4 of your plate be colorful.
Yes.
And 1/4 of your plate being the meat. Yes. And so, if you look at that, just, lots of the colorful things, fruits and vegetables, that's it. Right. And so this is one of those things, when people talk about different diets, you can go all the way back. You can think of the Pritikin diet. You can think of the Ornish diet. Yep. You can think of the high protein diet. You can think of all these various things that people have come up with over the years. The dietary approach that seems to be the best is a Mediterranean type diet in general, where you're getting all your food groups, but you're putting a focus on certain things. So you're getting carbohydrates, but they tend to be more complex carbohydrates, not just simple sugars.
Right.
You're getting fats, but you're getting a lot of non-saturated fats, and you're getting proteins, but they're leaner proteins. And so if you look again and again and again at the composition of a diet that tends to be the healthiest for cholesterol, blood pressure, weight, other things, it always goes back toward a Mediterranean type diet.
And it's great. We can go and sit on a boat out there in beautiful water, and that's a great way to diet anyway, right?
Anyway.
All right, let's go to the next phase, which is the exercise. So simple way to get me just better at that.
Think of it like this. It's really, really simple. FIT, F-I-T.
Okay.
Frequency, intensity, and time. The frequency of an activity program is critical because, again, it's like medication. If you had blood pressure, I wouldn't say, hey, Steve, you got high blood pressure, I'm going to put you on a pill, and I want you to take all 7 pills on Saturday morning.
Right.
That's not how you do it. So it's the frequency of the sessions.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing to work on is the length of time per session. You want to get it up to half an hour.
Right.
And then the last thing you push is the intensity.
Okay.
So the kicker, though, think about what most people in general, but guys in particular, do. They're the weekend warriors.
Yeah.
So they don't do anything during the week, but they go out on Saturday morning and they play pickup basketball or whatever it may be. And then Sunday they can't walk very well. So the idea, think of it like medication.
So true.
You take a little bit every single day.
Well, I think the weekend warrior. I've been that until it started hurting too much. And then I think I'm actually better off because I'm more on the FIT program. I love the acronym, though. That's very helpful to help us get there. So I'm going to pivot a little bit
Okay.
because there's so much to talk about. When you and I sat down and had lunch for the first time, I always know when I find my people. If I sit down and I have lunch or have a meeting or meet someone for the first time and there is a book exchange that happens afterward, I know I found my people.
Right.
So the book that you sent to me has a lot to do with your values based approach to what you've brought to the Texas Tech University system. So let's talk about what motivated and motivates you to make that a part of student lives and all of the lives that surround you.
You know, one of the things that I think we've done a good job of in higher education, and I'm talking about across the board, coast to coast,
Yeah.
more or less, we've done a really good job at helping students learn how to make a living,
Right.
making them workforce ready.
Right.
And it's interesting though. There's a guy named James Truslow Adams that wrote a book many, many, many years ago about education in America. And he actually said there are two types of educations we need to be giving our young people. One, the first, is an education on how to make a living.
Yeah.
The second, which is as important, is how to live. That's
Right.
where, in so many ways, in my opinion, I think that we've kind of dropped the ball. And by that I mean, and it's nobody's fault. It's again the world that we're living in is really not conducive in many ways to really good human interaction, interpersonal skill development,
Right.
because everybody communicates via social media, everybody communicates via an iPhone, whatever it might be. But the problem with that, and you see it again and again and again, young people, well, all people, but young people in particular that are developing these skills that are life skills become stunted, and they will type something on an iPhone and send it to somebody in all caps or whatever in a way that they would never
Right.
speak to them in person. And so one of the things that I think that we're missing in higher education, in all of education, but higher education is what I can control. We're missing that developmental part of teaching people how to live. Our job in higher education, in my opinion, our job is not to make little Republicans or little Democrats. Our job is to make folks, number one, that are good in their field of study. So when they graduate with an accounting degree or an engineering degree or whatever it might be, they're really good at that. But number two, I want people that can problem solve, that can critically think, that can base their interactions with other people on a set of values that allows them to have a conversation with somebody with whom they disagree, maybe vehemently about something, but still be able to have a civil, friendly conversation about that topic. If we can do that, then it will not only be better for that individual, it'll be better for us as a society as well.
What you mentioned as far as social media and the like puts us into our own echo chamber and makes it harder for us to really open up. But I also think they're phenomenal tools that
That's it.
we use. You and I right now, I'm going to feel when we get off of this call as if I've been with you. I'm going to have
Sure.
this real interaction. So it's sort of how we're using the tools maybe that we can go at a little bit. On the other hand, I wish for a time when we could be more curious and more open. If we can be curious, we have an opportunity to listen enough that we might learn something and not be at odds with somebody who is on a different either political spectrum or something else.
Absolutely. You know, Mark Twain said, it ain't what we don't know that gets us in trouble. It's what we know for sure that just ain't so.
I love it.
And it's the truth. I mean, all of us get, you know, on social media, the algorithms that are in there, they're going to send me stuff they think I want.
Yeah.
And if I'm leaning right or if I'm leaning left, it just keeps pushing you more and more and more till you eventually get to the point that you are in your echo chamber.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is that's not real life. And to your earlier point, they're tools. These are phenomenal tools. But you have to think of it like a motorcycle or a chainsaw. I mean, it's a tool. And if you use the thing correctly, it does great things. If you use it incorrectly, you can get yourself into big trouble. Right.
100%. I love the path, and I think we should just march on down it. What is information? You breathe rarefied air in a system, like I said, of 5 universities, 64,000 students. These are people whose lives you impact every day. So, what is the place for education in information that allows us to better communicate?
Having our students learn how to process information. Let me give you an example. On the medical side, which is where I come from, one of the things when I was in medical school that you had to do, you had to spend a substantial amount of time coming up with differential diagnoses. So a patient comes in with chest pain. In your mind, you would work over long lists of all the different things that could cause chest pain. And then you start overlaying it with things like, okay, this is a male past this age. Well, that changed up the list a little bit. Okay, this is a male above a certain age that is a cigarette smoker, or you changed it up a little bit more.
Right.
This is a male that's a cigarette smoker and he has a family history of early heart disease. So all these, you've got your own algorithms that you're developing in your mind. And so you create these very long lists of differential diagnoses. Now, keep in mind, I'm an internist, a diagnostician. So for me, the Sherlock Holmes part of that was always what really gave me my reward, and that I enjoyed thinking through it. Today, when you do the same rounding with medical students, they don't need to know any of that.
Right.
Because they can Google it, or now they can AI it.
Yeah.
And they can have things given up and they don't have to keep that stored in their head. But there's still something to the process of working through that that is really important. It's like when I watch, think of it like this. Think of doing long division on a piece of paper. We all had to do that.
Yep.
We don't do that anymore. Right. So, but having done long division, if you use a calculator and you're calculating something, you can tell just looking at an answer, that can't be the right answer because I know long division. Even if I hadn't done it completely in my head, I'll know that's not right. Students today don't know that that's not right because they've never gone through the exercise of the long division early on. And so if we're not careful, while technology is a remarkable thing in all these areas, in every area of everything that we do, there's also a huge benefit in getting back to the basics with everybody along the way in higher education. The basics in medicine of thinking through things critically, the basics in engineering of thinking through things critically, the basics in accounting of thinking through things critically.
Right.
And that's where, because technology's made it so much easier, that's where we have, in many ways, we've just shifted our focus.
Right.
And then that's not even talking, that's the educational side of technology, not the entertainment side of it, but that's the educational side of it that is, I think, important if you want to develop a workforce that has a great a problem-solving skill set as part of their educational experience.
Right. The make a living and knowing how to live. Right back to that same notion. I can tell you, I think that things like this, things like SmarterUmedia, the experience of talking to professors, people outside, entertainers. We've talked to a whole different array of people already, but to have that interjected with the real intent of finding pathways, of not just handing you a fish, but teaching you to fish. The ability to do those sorts of things within the umbrella of a place like Texas Tech is phenomenally powerful.
It is. Well, and it's important to remember in the world that I operate in now in higher education, there's if you look at a Venn diagram, a big circle, there are things that matter.
Right.
And if you look at another big circle, there are things that you can control. Yeah. And it's where those two circles overlap that you really need to place your emphasis. Things that matter that you can control. So, for example, when a student comes in as a freshman to one of our universities, we can't control their upbringing. We can't control their educational experience up to that point. We can't control who they ran around with. We can't control any of that. But we can control things like the experience they're going to get here, the support that they get here. We can control the expectations that we have of them here with their behaviors and everything else. So if you focus on those things, you focus on the things that matter, that you do control. All of those things, the way they were brought up, who they ran around with, how hard they worked in school, all those things matter, but we don't control them. So we've got to then overlay it with things that we do control to help level set with their peers once they're in college.
Yeah, that's a beautiful, I'm sure the philosopher Epictetus, whose whole notion was that the things I control and don't control is that threshold thing. Formal education is changing. You mentioned AI, so I'm going to talk about it because I think it's impossible to talk to one of the educators in my circle without asking those questions. How is it feeling today? Where are we heading? And what's the kind of stuff that you think we ought to be doing?
Well, I will tell you that, it's really, I look at higher education like any big business. Anytime you bring in any new technology, whatever that might be, you're going to get two reactions. One reaction is going to be from people that are truly skeptical just because they don't know much yet about the new technology. The other reaction that you get, which is actually oftentimes much more profound, is a pushback from people that are vested in doing things the way they currently do them. And so that's actually the one that you have to get over, because the fact of the matter is AI is here. It's not like if we all ignore it, it's going to go away. It is here. So trying to figure out, how do you bring this in? How do you encompass it into your educational programs, your educational offerings, in a way that the students understand how to apply it, where to apply it, where probably not to apply it, and take it from there. Because we need to grow with this. As it grows, we need to grow with it. We don't need, and we have faculty and staff that say, leave it alone. It's not good in my area. I know that it's important, but not for me. It doesn't work that way. And so we've got to embrace it, and we've got to see where can we plug it in, even on the medical side. And I know I keep referencing medicine because that's what I know, but on the medical side, for differential diagnoses and the like, for even things related to how are you treating a patient. There are actually AI programs where you can go in and visit with somebody, and then you go and sit down on the outside, and the computer will say, Ted, why is it that you cut that patient off after 38 seconds when they were trying to tell you what was going on in with that particular question? And so you can learn from this as well, just like you would learn from a mentor when you're seeing patients. So there is a place for it, and we must grow with it. Now, the kicker with it is, our technology is a cost of doing business, and what it does do is it starts increasing the cost for everything that you're doing.
Yeah, that's interesting that's where you land, because most people are not thinking that part of it. You're not thinking about how much it takes in energy, how much it takes in resource, all of those things. It is remarkable, though, to live in a time where that kind of transformative technology is landing in our laps or laptops.
Well, don't you remember the 2001 Space Oddity?
Of course.
Space Odyssey.
Yeah, that's right.
Space
Absolutely.
Odyssey was HAL.
That's right.
Yeah, but so that's what you think about. You think about things like that. You think about the Terminator. We think about things like that along the way. But it is here, and for us in higher education to understand, we've got to embrace it. We've got to figure out. We've got to understand how to best plug it in, and how to teach our students what it is and how to deploy it in an appropriate way.
Yeah. Well, here's the uncomfortable question. How often do you use it?
Well, I've actually been using it a lot more. When you're looking at things, it's kind of crazy. Even for things when you're trying to generate ideas for things, it's a little bit frightening how much you can get off of that. Well, do a simple Google search now.
Yeah.
First thing pops up is the AI
generator.
Answer.
Yeah.
It is generated for you.
Yeah.
So And if
Well,
you really want to get freaky, do a Chat GPT thing on who is Steve Lipscomb and look at it.
oh, we don't want to know. Now we've gone too far. Now we've gone too far. Uh, I do find it that the tool is fantastic in so many ways, and the phrase that continues to be used is an instant cliche is you won't be replaced by AI. You will be replaced by someone who knows how to use AI. In the
That's
same
true. That's
way,
absolutely true.
in the same
Yeah,
way, at this point, if you didn't know how to use a computer or a calculator, you'd probably be in a tough way, right?
that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Well, our friend Mark Cuban, who talked about Texas Tech specifically as the place he wants to go hire people because people come out able to really be in the workplace, that has to make you feel good as you're overseeing a university system that is trying to really reach that first of your two big things, which is to
Right.
be someone who can do a good job.
Workforce ready, and it's interesting. It's fascinating to have this part of the conversation because what is it that makes those students that come to this university system? What is the secret sauce? What is the thing about it? And one of my observations is the type of student that you attract out here
Mm,
is they're oftentimes students that have like FFA backgrounds. They come
yep.
from smaller towns.
Yep.
They've worked on farms or been around farms. They have worked at ranches. They have had to problem solve along the way,
Yeah.
and they come in
Interesting.
and they're problem solvers, and they're hard workers.
Mm,
Now, you could even say that in our system, there is a little bit of a selection bias of those students coming in.
right.
So the product on the other end of it is one that you could have predicted.
Mm,
But I will tell you, there's something about the environment that those students create, because then you can bring in students from Dallas and bring in students from Houston and
yep.
bring in students from New York City
Yep.
that as part of that environment, they react positively to the environment that they are in. So there's something about that environment itself that you've created by this can-do grit of West Texas that impacts positively people that aren't from West Texas that join the program out here.
I just recently finished Revenge of the Tipping Point, and
Sure.
one of the big points there was that we do become the people around us, whether we like it or not.
It's the truth.
So
The
if you're
environment, you become steeped in it.
identify who you'd like to be, if you can, and then go try to find people like that and be around them, it gets into you, and good or bad, doesn't matter
Good or
wherever
bad, it
you
gets
wind
into.
up.
Well,
Yeah.
do you remember the old Randy Travis song, Heroes and Friends? Your heroes will help you find good in yourself,
Yeah.
and your friends won't forsake you for somebody else. But it's this aspirational thing of having mentors,
Yeah.
having people that you can aspire to be what they are, and then determining along the way, what do I need to do to get there?
Yeah. So you have been on a journey, right? It started out in Louisiana. You wound up in Fairview. Is that where it is? Fairview, Texas?
Longview,
Longview.
Longview.
So you wound up in Longview, Texas. That's where you grew up, and you have
Mhm.
found yourself at the crossroads of medicine, commerce, academia, and literally what makes all of us smart. How does that happen? I mean, can you really honestly reflect on that journey, or is it just that we stumble through life and we find ourselves where we are?
It's really kind of crazy. Uh, if you would have asked me growing up, the one thing I knew I did not want to do was medicine.
Yeah.
My dad was a physician, and that was one thing I
Oh,
said I don't want to do. As it wound up, for a variety of reasons, I wound up being pre-med. And then once I got into medicine, really started practicing, I really loved it.
yeah,
And I also, though, in addition to love seeing the patients, I love the administrative side of it, and I
right.
love the research side of it, and I love the teaching side of it. So when I was at the Cooper Aerobic Center where we worked at the Cooper
Hmm.
Clinic, you could do all of those things. And so over time, I really enjoyed the different facets of the practice that was there, because it gave me an opportunity to exercise parts of my brain that in just a standard practice I wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
And then one thing just led to the next. If you would have asked me when we first started practicing in Dallas, do you think you're going to ever wind up in West Texas in an academic setting? The answer would have been, you got to be crazy. I don't think so.
Yeah.
And if you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans, right?
Yeah, make a plan. That's either way at all. When people tell their story as if I decided when I was 3, and maybe there's some of those people, but I don't. I
I don't know
always
them.
I don't know them. I find that honestly, when you pick a path and you start walking, it leads to another path that you didn't know existed. That's how you get
Exactly.
there. That's how you
That's
get to the other
exactly right.
path, right?
Yeah. Well, and let me tell you, I think along those lines, there can be a million different paths.
Yeah.
But there's a quote from Albert Schweitzer. He says, and I'm going to get it wrong, but he said, he was speaking to a group. He says, I cannot tell you what your destiny is going to be, but I can tell you this. I promise you, the only ones amongst you that will truly be happy are those that have found some way to serve other people.
Yeah.
And if you find that, whatever the path is,
Yeah.
it may not be your job. It may be just something you do in your local civic center. It may be something you do at your church or your synagogue, whatever. But folks that have found a way to focus on other people will always be the ones that are the most satisfied and the most fulfilled, in my opinion.
And I witness that every day. I mean, when we package what we think of as success. And again, you are at the crossroads of this. So it's one of the things that's in the package is educate and then go and do whatever. We seem to discount way too often the second part of your 2-part life, which is find a way to live. And truly the service piece of that is impossible to overstate, but it seems to take a smaller and smaller piece of that which we sort of discuss, encourage, and share all the time in our marketplace of ideas. Doesn't it feel a little bit that way?
It very much feels that way. It's almost as though the more we have materially, the more focused we become just on ourselves and not on the folks around us. And again, I'm not saying that pejoratively, I'm saying it descriptively. And, and I think you and I discussed this book when you were here. There was a great book that came out in the 1980s, written by a guy named Neil Postman.
Okay.
And the name of the book is Amusing Ourselves to Death. And he was talking about the age of television. This is long before the internet.
Yeah.
But he was just talking about how the more focused we get on just entertaining ourselves in whatever manner that might be, the more we lose focus on the folks around us. And the more you lose the enjoyment of that. And again, even in medicine, if you look at the number of young men and women that want to go into things like emergency medicine,
right,
or hospital-based medicine, when you talk to them about it, very often you say, oh, do you really like the ER? And very often they'll say, no, but I can work a shift and I can do that a few times a week, and then I don't have to worry about the office and the patients. And what they're missing with that is the true joy in practicing medicine and getting to know patients over a long period of time.
Right.
And so the focus is shifting. And again, part of our job is to make sure they see the beauty and the wonderful things about the interpersonal relationships you develop. Again, pick your industry.
Yeah.
But when you pull out the interpersonal relationships, you lose a lot of what makes it so rich. And that's on us to make sure our children and our grandchildren understand that interpersonal interaction is the richness. That's the beauty of life.
You can talk to the neurologists, the Lisa Barretts of the world, who are, will tell us it's just the way we're wired, right? That's a metaphor, but it's just the way we're wired, that we are wired to the people around us. But you get beyond that. We just had this great social experiment. We just had a pandemic that shut us down and had offices not have people in them. And we're realizing after the fact, a little bit later, that if we're not together, we're not the same. And it's critical to our being and our universe, right?
It's damaging when we're not around each other.
Yeah.
There's a
Said better.
psychological damage to being isolated. And
Yeah.
and we saw that in spades during the COVID epidemic. We're living in a world where materially we have so much, and yet it doesn't feel like we're living at the best time in human history. And we've had
Yeah.
since the internet, since social media has exploded, we're seeing a rise in suicide rates. We're
Yeah.
seeing an increased sense of isolation. The General Survey study from the University of Chicago, they do all the time, and their analysis from 2024, they were saying they had the largest number of young people responding to how many close friends do you have? The answer was zero, and that's they've never seen anything like that since they started doing that analysis back in the 80s. So people are more and more isolated. You're living in a world where you have the world at your fingertips in front of you on a screen, and yet we are more lonely than ever. And it's an interesting, ironic combination.
Kind of makes sense, doctor. I mean,
Yeah, it does. It does.
let's talk about sports, because you've done one of those cool fun things, which is in an era where we've watched sports medicine transform from what you would think of as completely crude now
Right. Right.
into someone who's injured and you think, oh, they're out for maybe a career and now they're back and they're better than they ever were. What an amazing time.
Yep, it's absolutely an amazing time. If you think about sports medicine going back to the 1960s, it was very, very limited. And what we knew about exercise physiology and how it applied to the human system was very, very limited.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at training techniques, if you look at rehabilitative techniques that people use now, you can take people that 50 years ago and I'd say two things. With certain injuries, they would have been out permanently.
Done.
Now they are treated surgically, non surgically, they're rehabbed, and they're right back in the game as good as ever. But there's another overlay to this. Now, this is where, if you talk about just exercise in general, think back when you were a kid. If somebody had type 1 diabetes, they were just told they don't exercise. You just keep them out. People that had a history of epilepsy, you just keep them out. There were certain medical conditions, asthma. There were certain things that if people had them, they didn't participate. One of the things that has happened in the fitness movement is you have people now saying, look, I have these medical conditions, but I want to participate. So medicine has also opened up the doors for people that before were not even allowed to be active to now say you can be as active as you can be within limitations of your illness. But by doing so, we have also found that it is tremendously helpful as part of their own disease treatment process. So the world of sports medicine is light years beyond what it was just 50 years ago. Some of that is because of great research. Some of that is because of great application, applied research to people. Some of that is because of medication. Some of that is because of the medical device industry that we have. But the combination of all of it has led us to the point where there are very few people that cannot develop some type of a physical activity program. And then look at the popularity of things like the Paralympics that you have. Janet and I were fortunate enough this past summer to go to the Olympics in Paris. And let me just tell you, it transitioned immediately to the Paralympics afterwards. And to see the athletes who were participating, again, these are people that a generation ago would have had no access to doing things that are so amazing. And the perseverance and the dedication that they have to their sports are really incredible. It's very inspirational.
It is, and it is not like it was before. I love that you start us off by talking about exercise and how important it is no matter who you are. We find ourselves now looking at the revolution that's happened in sports medicine. But again, you bring that down to the individual level which is it still applies to everyone, not just to the amazing Steph Curry and LeBron James of the world.
Sure.
Well, let's spend a little time. I could talk to you for way too long, so I promise I won't go on forever, because I think we even have an out coming up pretty soon. But I will talk a little bit about individual life. You mentioned your wife, and you met in medical school, and you continue to be together. I am sure the passion of not just the things that you share in terms of knowledge, but also for helping the world be better and the like, keep that where it is. But tell me about the personal side and how that goes along with this great trajectory of how far you've gone.
Sure. Well, I met Janet in medical school. Janet was actually born and raised in Mexico City. She'd come to the States to go to college, and then we met in medical school. I was 1 year ahead of her in medical school.
Uh-huh.
And what's interesting is she was a year behind me, and in medical school, your freshman year is really hard. The sophomore year is a little bit easier. The junior year is extremely hard. The senior year is a little bit easier. So as we dated, I'd be in a hard year and she'd be in an easy year, and vice versa. So it's always very complimentary when we did that. Same thing when you get into residency. We both trained in the same field. We both wound up practicing at the Cooper Clinic together. So we spent our professional lives growing up, literally growing up together in this. Along the way, we started having our kids. And as you are well aware, once you start with families, your focus shifts toward that.
Yeah.
And because we didn't want to force our kids to do anything, as a consequence, we really didn't talk to our kids about medicine a lot. They both, they all three knew that we both practiced, of course, but we didn't really hit on it. Like my dad expected me to be a physician growing up because he'd been a physician.
Right.
So we didn't want to do that with them. And so just as a consequence, none of our kids wound up in medicine.
Yeah.
And to this day, they'll say, I wish you guys would have spoken to us more about that. We might have done it. But we wound up with 2 engineers educationally and 1 attorney. And they're all three of the kids are doing marvelously well. And Janet still stays very involved in the corporate wellness program that we have throughout the entire system here at Texas Tech.
It's just fantastic. Well, I'm glad we got to spend time together. I feel like we just scratched a little bit of the surface, but you'll come back. We'll do this again. And
happy to do it.
And with that, we get to the end, where we always help our audience try to curate their information. We talked a lot about the information age, and it's a lot. So is there something that you found along the way? It doesn't have to be health related. It could be whatever that you found is a really great source that you can trust and that you use a lot.
I'm going to give you one that I made up myself.
Ooh, even better.
Everybody needs to look at the world through a prism. Prism.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if it's political, doesn't matter if it's work-based, whatever. P is for the position you have on any given topic.
Okay.
R is your rationale for having that position. Really thinking through why you think the way you do. I is for the intensity of it. If you look at the political world right now, you'd think that everybody's on a scale of 1 to 10, a 10 in their position. But that's not people. So how, on a scale of 1 to 10, how intense are you on that? The S is for society. What does society think of your position, especially those that disagree with you?
Right.
What is their position and why? And then M is there a middle ground? Is there a place in the discussion that you guys can come together on a topic? So if everybody, right now, we have everybody looking at the world through a kaleidoscope of pretty things, but a prism, as you know, takes light and breaks it into its component parts so you can study it better. So by the same token, if somebody with their own interaction with others, if they can go into a conversation thinking of it through the right prism, then I think it will make them more effective in their engagement with people, but it also will make them more understanding of other folks' positions as well.
Yeah, what a great way to end. Take the prism and get the beautiful rainbow that comes out the other side. And that is a beautiful way for us to wrap up. Thank you so much, Dr. Ted Mitchell, for joining SmarterUmedia. And everybody, remember today to stay as curious as you can be and always stay open. We'll see you again next time. Thanks, Ted.
Thanks, Steve.